Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today we'll be studying about a very powerful method of array class in JavaScript, that is reduce, right? So this method is used to get a single output of an array, right? So you might want to get the sum of an array, or you might want to count the occurrence of certain element in an array. This is where you will use this utility, and it will reduce your coding effort, and it will even I mean, it will even create a new way of programming it, right? So this is a very important question asked in JavaScript interviews or in the front-end interviews. So you should be knowing how a reduce method work. There are of course complex use cases. This is a very simple use case. I'll be showing or demonstrating the example for it with the code. So let's first understand how the syntax work, right? So let's say we have an array, we have a variable array, right? It contains some elements. Stop this. As you can see, it has five. Um, it's an array. It's an element, numeric elements, right? And we want to get the sum of all these values, right? We can use reduce here. Of course, you can use other ways. Traditional ways would be to use a loop, maybe a map method, and create a variable and then do it, right? You will see how reduce can significantly reduce our even the coding I mean the coding logic for that, for a basic sum method. All you need to understand is what props needs to be passed. So we'll be getting some after calling a reduce method on this. It expects some arguments. The first argument would be a callback method, right? And the second would be initial value. Okay. This callback method, right? Here, it's a normal JavaScript method which would be expecting there are multiple arguments, but we'll be using mostly you will be using two elements only, right? So the first argument would be the accumulator, and the second would be the current value. I'll explain you what each of these terms is, and it would be having a function body which would be returning the value for that iteration, right? So for our case, for summing it, it would be something like accumulator plus current value, right? So the first term, what is an accumulator? So this would be something that will be storing our single value. So we'll be building it on each iteration, and we would be changing it on each iteration. How? We would be returning whatever return value would be assigned to this accumulator, and it will be passed on to the next iteration. So for the first iteration, let's say for the first iteration, I'll be getting it. So you will be confusing like what is the first value we'll send into the accumulator. That's where this second argument comes into the picture. So whatever initial value you're sending it, right, from the argument of reduce, that would be the first value of the accumulator. So this will be receiving, accumulator would be receiving zero value, or if you're passing it as zero, right? So it will be receiving zero, and the current value would be one. So it will be returning as one. So the next iteration, when the iteration comes here, right, the accumulator would be having one, the current value would be having two, and the return would be three. So now this three will be the accumulator for the next iteration, where the current value would be three, and the accumulator will also be three, and the return value would be six, of course. So this is how this will work until each iteration is done and there is no element left, right? So at the end, you will be getting 15, right? So we'll show you now we'll go into the code and see if this is really working or not. Yeah. Let me go to the VS editor, open a VS editor and create a HTML file, right? Just add a basic HTML template. All right. Create a JavaScript file because you'll be writing JavaScript file. You need to create here, and of course you have to import also, right? Self closing tag. You need to pass the source attribute, pass the reduce.js. All done. We'll just add a console statement to see if it is working or not. We'll print hello world. To see or to run the HTML code in your Chrome browser, you need to install the live server. It's an extension which you can um, find in the extension here. Just go here and type live server. You will be seeing an extension here. You would be getting the install option if you haven't already installed, right? Once it's installed, you would be able to see an option while after right clicking on this HTML page, you will be getting this option open with live server. If not, restart your VS Code editor and you must be seeing it, right? So I'll click here and this is open. Of course, it's an empty object. There is nothing here in the HTML. Let's check the console if hello world hasn't printed or not. Yeah, it's printed. So our JavaScript is working fine. Now let's see the logic for the array and reduce. All right, let's create a variable array and we initialize it with some values, right? As mentioned, we can save it, save the sum in a variable, or we can directly console it. All right, I'll save it in a variable sum, and I'll call the array method dot reduce on it. So it will be expecting a method and a initial value, right? So we'll be passing the initial value 0, and for method we would be returning the accumulator plus the current value. So initially the accumulator would be 0. So to get the accumulator, just pass the first argument as accumulator, or any variable you can have it, and the current value. Inside the body of method, you want to return the sum of both the values, right? Let's do it. Return accumulator plus current value. So this is the method, and just this is it. You can console it and see if it is the sum or not, right? Sum equals to sum. Let's check our HTML page. Yep, so we have 15. So it's a basic reduce method to get the sum of an array, right? Now, a more complex, you can say, use case. I'll be in that also. Let's say there's an array, right? There's an array and of fruits, right? So it has let's say it has apple, right? It has orange, or let's call it a basket, okay? Okay, it is an apple, it is an orange. It can has same fruit, of course, all right? And there's a banana here. One more orange, all right? So there's a problem statement. It can come like you might want to get the occurrence of each of the fruit, right, in an array, in a very large array, right? So how do you solve this problem using reduce, right? Let's try to solve it. Of course, we'll create a variable to get the count of each of the fruit. We'll just name it count, and we'll use the same syntax as we have used above. Of course, we're using basket here, right? Basket dot, I'll comment this code because we haven't used it. Basket dot reduce. Okay. So slightly logic we need to change. Of course, this won't be a very straightforward logic, right? Initial value and what should be passed in the argument, right? So I'm initializing this accumulator as an empty object. Of course, when the accumulation is done, or when all the iteration has been done, we would be seeing something like the expected output should be something like this. Should be an object, and should be an object having, let's say, apple, the count should be 2, right? And for oranges, right, that should also be 2, right? And for banana, right, it should be 1. So this is the expected output from a reduced method. If you want to try yourself, you can try it, pause the video and try it. I'll write the solution for it. So of course we'll be passing 2 props, we'll be passing accumulator, and we'll be getting the current value, right, as usual. So what should be returning here, right, or what should be doing it, right? Right, if accumulator, right, curve value is defined, right, that means we have already got that fruit earlier in the earlier iteration. So we'll do one thing, we'll just increase the current value accumulator by 1, right? So shortcut to do is this. Else, right? So we'll be assigning or initializing it as 1, right? Once this is done, we'll just return the accumulator, right? Because we want to pass the latest accumulator to the next iteration, right? So it's not something that would be persisting in each iteration. You have to pass it through the prompt. It's done. I mean, let's print and see if we get the right result that we want, right? So print count, so print count. Let's go to our Chrome and refresh it. There we go. So apple 2, banana 1, orange 2. Yeah. So this is it. Mostly this is the use case which you will be facing, this kind of use case. So it's a very simple logic. See, like we just define everything here. Otherwise, it would have taken a very large amount of space and a code to get this logic. And it might be using other a variable also. You have to define a variable and then do all those things using map. So yeah.